Hi, my name is Kristen Snyder. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and today we will be presenting Our Turn. Our Turn focuses on the issue that teens are uninformed to vote and unengaged in politics. This is anything but a foreign idea to me. I submitted this project, and I work in campaigns around Charlotte, North Carolina, and I worked in Virginia for a little bit. And what we saw was that not many teens are in politics, and they don't really know about the public policy that they're listing and whatnot. So, but don't just listen to me, let's listen to the facts too. So our team polled the nation about over 200 people, and we asked them this question: are political discussions prevalent in your household? And you can see about 1/4 said very prevalent. This is just simply not enough. 1/4 households are the main influencers of how teenagers engage in politics. We also asked this question: what will motivate teenagers to be more interested in politics? Adding up the different distinctions into one similar category, we found that teens, if educated, they will be more motivated to vote and more motivated to engage in politics because they see how it affects them. So we came up with this idea to have a convention to inform in an unbiased manner, but still to give an exposure to teens about politics.
OurTurn is a day-long interactive convention that equips students to engage in politics through two things. First, we educate them both about political knowledge on a national and local level, and secondly, we help them connect with local assets. So you may be wondering, how exactly is a group of high schoolers going to do this? So take a moment to step into the shoes of a North Carolina high schooler. Your history teacher, in a last-ditch effort to get his students engaged in politics, is offering extra credit to get you guys to go to this convention. And you're thinking, okay, it's gonna be another boring informational fair, but it's not. When you arrive, you look around, and though you do see tables full of interesting paraphernalia and informational pamphlets, the signs on both sides offer unique information. On one side, you see mock election happening at lunch, an opportunity for students to actually learn to vote on issues they believe in. On the other side, you see a list of partners with this convention that offer political opportunities for you to engage in the culture that you've never even heard of. As you're walking around, you may see a perky brunette saying, "Hi, I'm Kristen, would you like to get involved in the community?" And you're thinking, either, "Yes, I would, tell me about it," or you're thinking, "No, I'm not actually all that political." Either way, the motivation behind this is the free gift bag that you get if you attend each of the booths, and that's enough incentive to at least go check them out. Overall, we see at this convention, it's our turn to be politically engaged in the culture. Teenagers will engage in dialogue with local mentors from our partner organizations and local politicians to talk about issues such as tax reform, immigration, other important issues, some more hot topic issues and some local issues. We will also, in the pamphlets that might be passed out, you could see a clear and concise summary of issues that you might not know how to address as a teenager, why voting is important, the differences between Democrat and Republican ideology, different things like that. So overall, since it is our turn to take a stand in politics, we offer this convention as a way for teenagers to get engaged. And my friend Rains is going to address exactly how feasible this solution actually is.
In the past 2 days, we've confirmed partnership with these 5 political advocacy organizations to staff these booths and to provide various viewpoints on different issues. With their help, we will pilot this project in hopes to break the stereotype that teens don't have a place in politics. While other organizations have created their impact in efforts to change the relationship between government and young adults, our project is unique, and here's why. Because OurTurn will provide knowledge, resources, and discussion, and it will provide a long-term effect as it will spark a lasting interest in the teens and the community. All we need is your support to make this project something powerful. $1,400 will go to the logistics of our event, such as the venue and the advertisements and the refreshments. Our partnerships and our project plans are already secure, but all we need is your monetary investment to make this project come to life.
This is not a preference, it is a necessity. Our republic revolves around the idea that citizens are engaged in politics and informed. It is our turn to engage teens in politics, but it's your turn to help us make this a possibility for our future leaders. Thank you.
Great presentation. Again, I think a powerful subject that you're tackling from there. I think our country is divided in many ways in politics, and I think it's really sad that it's at a family level. I know brothers and sisters who won't talk to each other over politics, so I think what you're trying to address is a big issue. I guess my question around, I realize it's been a short period of time, and I like the folks you started talking about as far as coming to the conference, as far as the Democratic and Republican parties. But have you done any outreach or thought about organizations that might be a nonpartisan think tanks or something like that, that may be addressing the issues? I think one of the challenges is people tune out from politics because they talk to folks who are so far to one side or the other. So I guess the question is around who you've been thinking about as far as maybe some more nonpartisan organizations.
So with the 5 organizations that we had chosen to outreach to, we had tried to keep, like I said, a balance of Democratic and Republican organizations, but we also tried to include organizations that were just willing to get teens involved in politics regardless, in a nonpartisan way.
In addition, you talked about how people often don't get involved in politics because it's so very emotionally attached to the different beliefs. I think our ideas with providing information to these teens is that we're going to give them hopefully as impartial information as we can. So we're just going to give them a clear and concise summary of this is what politics is, and this is the issue that we're discussing. And then at this convention, because you're right, we do have some Democrats and some Republicans that will be coming to this convention, they can go to those specific booths and talk to those people and see, so now that I know the general information, I can also talk to the Democrat and the Republican and see which one I might agree with more.
We also aim to allow the students to interact and make their own decision based on hearing and pulling information from representatives like adults typically do.
Very nice presentation. I think I see future congresswomen and men on the stage, so you go for that. I think this is really, as sort of a vaping issue, I think the time is good for this. That, you know, there's so much going on that young people are realizing I need to, have my voice heard, and the way I do that is to get involved early. So I think you have an opportunity to make an impact. My question is around getting people to come. So you talked about extra credit for classes, which I think is a brilliant idea, always good. One, how would you spread that beyond just 1 or 2 high schools or something? And then, how do you envision getting lots of people there so that you feel some energy in this convention? And that I think will be key.
Yes, absolutely. I can address that question. So in North Carolina, we have a special election coming up that is very prevalent to everybody else's lives and will be highly broadcasted against the news networks. So that will also help. And additionally, like we said, we have the 5 organizations that are very, very active in the community of North Carolina and Charlotte. So they will be engaged in that as well. But also as well as targeting the high schools, not only with their classes, but calling their local political organizations within the schools to do some networking there and going there and setting up different kinds of posters and whatnot to make sure that this is an event that is attended.
Also, I think it's an important thing to know that we had originally planned to reach out to schools. That way we would reach out to teens that were already in an environment. But the schools withdrew from that idea because they were too scared of the controversy. And that just emphasized more of the need for something like this, because the adults in these teens' lives have the expectation that they're going to be immature and uncivilized and argue over feelings instead of facts. And we just believe that if a town convention is what we have at our use right now, that's what we should go with until we can prove to institutions like schools that this is something that can be hosted to reach even more teens.
And really quickly, going back to Kristen's point, she mentioned that this special congressional election is coming up. We strategically placed our convention to be the weekend before the election. So it's going to be a huge hullabaloo in North Carolina. And so a lot of people are going to be interested and maybe even confused on what's happening. So I think it would be a good opportunity for them to come and learn about it in general.
Hopefully the event will then encourage the teens to register to vote to participate in the election the next weekend.
I might just sort of ask a follow-up to Tom Bertrand's question about in such a polarized environment, to have a convention that's not trying to be polarized, but the participants are from the opposite sides. Talk about that part of the problem and how the convention mechanism can work to actually deflate that polarization or create conversation, an open conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're putting all these organizations together, we made sure to call them and tell them, we want to educate teens, we don't want to force their hand. We want to give them the information and make their own decision on how they do that. So we will have the booths like we talked about, and they will be discussing kind of how politics work, what goes into a campaign, how our government works in kind of instituting this, and then they would be free to kind of slip these people their literature and maybe even talk about their candidate a little bit. But of course, this is an informed discussion, so it's all about education as far as the overall perspective. And then of course, we have a lunch, and we're hoping that teens will sit down and kind of sit a discussion with our kind of form idea, our scavenger hunt form idea, that people will sit down, they'll have a discussion about what they learned from each booth and what they've kind of discussed, and in a non-polarized kind of thing, in a logical, and leave their feelings behind. So that's kind of what we're hoping to do with that.
Also, our goal is to create an environment for teens to learn and to keep honoring the 4th of July, which was a fight for freedom, for liberty, for their rights, so they can be heard if they are informed. So we want to give voice to teenagers to keep doing their job, to keep serving their community, their country, to be really great, and that's what we expect.
Even though the teens can't vote, we're hoping that by the time they are 18, they are well informed and are readily available to vote. In our survey, we also asked the question, would you like 18-year-olds, as soon as they turn 18, to vote in the nearest election? And we had a huge percentage of yes, that should be something that they're doing. And if we look at statistics, only about 40% do so. So that's something that we also are trying to plant a seed and then maybe a curiosity for future elections. So.
And also to follow up, as we all know, that politics has kind of given the impression that it's become an abrasive culture. And with this actually day of Our Turn, we're hoping to combat that and basically taking the abrasiveness out of politics, and so that we can basically give teens a voice and basically not do it in an abrasive tone or manner, and actually do it in a safe environment where their voice can be heard.
And they have the tools to educate themselves as well. And so this is just, like we said, absolutely necessary to our republic to keep that, to increase the decrease of young voters.
Awesome, thank you guys.